Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is lesson 6C, wide receiver positional analysis. Obviously, you need to check the other lessons. This is all for the science of fantasyfootball.com, where I hang out. This is the work that I do every year. So the amount of data I generate, etc., etc. A lot of people complain about the grind. Some of us live it. And this is part of that, so you get to see this. I expect you to do work. I don't expect you to sit around like a mushroom and soak all this up. You'll have to watch these 2 or 3 times, maybe more. Take notes. This is a lecture. This is not spoon feeding, right? You can go pay good money to get spoon fed somebody's stuff. I don't know. Is it any good? I don't know. This is the quote stuff I use. So let's roll. Okay. So let's see what am I doing. Oh, I see what I'm doing. Okay, so sometimes I forget because I did this in quite some time. So we're talking each column is a year from the year 2000 here to 222. This is the fantasy points and experience sectors. This is the time spent in the league. R is rookie. R2's is second year in, third year, fourth, fifth, all the way 10th year for the wide receivers. And what I did was I stained and colorized the highs and lows here. Reds are low and highs are green. And I think it's pretty clear that as a group, notice I'm not dividing the top group, the top rookies, just all rookies, wide receivers that got anything, any activity last 23 years. There's their numbers. Has gone up a little bit since the year 2000. So there has been some increase in that here. Looks like 2014 was the highest for rookies. Interesting year. I don't know what was going on that year, but if you've got some time, you can check it out. And you can see as we roll through, it starts getting better and better as we get aged. I guess you could call it like fine wine. Age. Again, this is all wide receivers. This is not the top. This is not the bottom. This is everybody. I'm just looking at everybody. Landscape. And the top is last 2021 is, what was that? 8 and 9. And last year, the top 4 was third, 6 years in, 8 and 9. Okay, rookies were at the bottom, second year, moving up, and then hitting a peak, decline, hitting another peak. So it's kind of like a double dip here. I don't know if these are cohorts moving through here or not. The next sector below is where I stain for the bottom 30% of the data and the top 30% in green, and you can pretty much see where we're at. 2022, we didn't have any tops last year, okay? In fact, you have to go back to 2011 to see any kind of failure to reach in the top 30 percentile. We didn't see that. We saw 3 at the bottom here, rookie year 2, year 4. Which is kind of interesting. 2021, we saw rookie 2, 3, 4, and 6 were at the bottom. But 8 and 9 were at the top here. So we declined even, again, this is all wide receivers here. So you can kind of follow this data a little bit and kind of see what you think. You can see in the old days that things like R10, 10 years in, take a look. They did really well for a while, and then that has gone down the last 3 years. So the glory days were here. Year 9, you can kind of see what's good, year 8, 7. So you can kind of plot and look at this. And I think so I actually labeled this. Looks like I did in green here, rookies. We hadn't really seen a lot. Year 8, we've seen an increase in the last few years, but a decline last year. But overall, had a nice little blip here. Year 6, we were kind of high, down, up a little bit, down again. Here's year 3. We were high, and we really hadn't recovered. So that's kind of interesting. At one point, definitely year 6, year 3, year 8 wasn't bad in 2000, 2001, and 2. But in 2022, we saw a complete decline in pretty much everybody except for year 3. We did see an increase a little bit, which was kind of interesting. So let's take a look at this data here. So instead of experience, let's look at age. And instead of years, I looked at age, so age 21 to 34. I grouped the years in sectors, so I carved it into 4 slices. Okay, 2000 to 5, 2006 to 11, 2012 to 18, 2019 to 22. And I wanted to jump to the chase. At the end of the season, the top 25% of the wide receivers. So these are the top of the top. Let's look at the age. Looks like 21-year-old wide receivers are just not doing it. In the last 4 years, the best has been year 28. But look at the decline. 29, 30 wasn't so high. 31, 32, 33, 34. So 2012 to 18, we did have 27, 29, and 34. We've lost that. Just looks like even the top wide receivers haven't been making as good as the old days. But remember that we know that wide receivers have increased in numbers. So remember, I'm looking at the top 25%. So the more wide receivers, kind of the lower that bar gets there. So I think we are losing as a group. Even the top group is, losing some here. And you can look at the actual numbers here. You can see the ones that fit in to those by years there. So just kind of take a look at that. But we've really had a decline in the last few years. At age 31, we've only had 6 in the last 4 years survive. Look at 10, 30. We are starting, at least it looks to me, like 27. So what is that, about the 26, 27? Is that their first contract in? And then we have a boom. So that's the last 4 years. Check this out. Look at that, almost half the numbers there. Very intriguing. And note that the 18 that survive actually did the best of all of them at age 28. So I think this, and Dennis came up with this idea about that contract situation. So that could explain some of this as well. I think that's kind of interesting. You can check that out. Here is red is 2019 to 2022, and yellow is the sector before, 12 to 18. And we have peaked at 28 and declined in the last few years. So we see rookies, and then we peak at 23. We see decline 24, bottom out 25, come back 26, 27 stays. We peak at 28. So I guess that contract, so we've winnowed out the losers there. Then bam, they're gone again, 29 and 30. So our wide receivers the years before that were a lot more steady as far as the end of the season. So things were a lot more predictable than they have been in the last 4 years. Of course, I know we've had COVID. That could be some of this. Okay, I know we've got more wide receivers. But just be aware. I think variation in thing has increased. So we got more wide receivers. I think we got higher variation. That contract situation, age 26, 27, things are changing. So just be aware of the model would suggest, if I'm Dynasty, in the last 4 years, do you want somebody past 29, 30? In the old days, I think you were probably okay at 29. And even before that, you remember I showed you 10 years of his service in the league. They were doing okay in the old days. So things have really changed. But again, we're getting a lot more wide receivers as well. So I think that's kind of interesting. Let's see what we got here. So average fantasy points year sector. I looked at then experience levels, rookie to year 10, the top 25%. You can see overall rookies, sad, year 2, year 3, year 4. Like I said, we kind of have a peak at 209, but we decline, and we're back at year 6, peaking year 7 and 8, and declining. So the sweet spot to me in the last 4 years is experience 7 and 8. So if I'm Dynasty, I'm definitely wanting 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So I'm really, looks to me, if you can catch somebody you think is on the rise after, they didn't have a great year 4, they may be a bargain this year. Okay, look at year 5 in the older days. 12 to 18 was really nice. So that may be a little tricksy. People having kept up with some, bigger changes here. And this idea that year 3 is the magical year, it looks like year 7 and 8 is the magical year from this data. Yeah, I understand year 3 is nice versus year 1 and rookie, but, as a group, top 25%. Okay, so no, I didn't do the top 10, top 5. I understand you could carve it down and probably see some different numbers here. I'm just kind of getting a big picture here of the data. And let's see, what are we doing? So so instead of age, we're talking experience. And it is clear, last 4 years, this is the place you want to be. 8 years experience. I guess you can live with 9, but it's a hot potato at 10 and better. And yes, there is something happening at 3, but it really stays Hey, it's really till 6. So it's not as like, wow, it's not linear. It's not like this line is going up and up and up and up. So if people are trading and trying to get wide receiver value based on some type of linear pattern, then you have an opportunity here. I think people are missing things as a group. This doesn't mean individual, as a group. So there may be some bargains in here for you. If I'm Dynasty, I think I'd look at this. Why I like polynomial trend lines. I think you get more clarity. We can debate that, but hey, it's my process. I do what I want. But that's what I'm up to here on that. Let's see, what else? What am I doing here? Oh, so what about running backs versus wide receivers? I'm always curious because those are the two main positions here. So looking at the top sectors of running backs and wide receivers, looking at rookies, year 2, 3, 4. So running backs are popping year 5, and then we get this decline year 6 and 7, and certainly by 8 you don't want them. Wide receivers, on the other hand, last 4 years, they're getting a little blip year 3 and heavy blip year 7 and 8. So you're getting a double dip here, double dip mechanics. Clearly, running backs are different than wide receivers. Look at year 4 of running backs, 208 versus 180. Look at year 5, 216 versus 204. Even year 6, it's almost the same. Year 7, wide receivers take over. So you need to be aware of these positional shifts, especially in Dynasty and this year. So you need to go through your draft list. Here it is, May. You should hit and make note of that age, that some of your targets, right? And start, making some other plans here. Okay, so use this to modify. If we look at the pattern, here's the pattern. This is red is wide receivers. You get a little bit of dip, your peak year 3, decline, and then 7, 8, we're all about it. And running backs, clearly 4, 5, it's kind of a hot potato. Do you hold them to 6? I guess that rookie contract there. And it's, I can understand people getting rid of the running backs after 6 years, probably even their peak at 5. You sell them between their 5th year and 6th year, looks to me. Of course, I think pretty much people are on that. I think wide receivers, though, you may get more of a age bargain than you think with experience. I think you can hold those 7, 8, maybe even 9. So that could be a surprise for you and could help you out. So I did I love ratios, comparing wide receiver to running back. Anything above 1, wide receivers are a little dominant. Anything below, running backs are dominant. And their running backs are dominant 4 and 5 and 6. They're equal. And 7, 8 wide receivers are kicking butt. And I suspect year 9, I don't have that data, year 10, there it is. So, they're about equal first 3 years. They're sorting out of who's who. But year 4 and 5, the running backs you want, they've exposed themselves. So that jump from year 3 to 4 versus wide receivers, big. So you definitely want to jump on top of that. Here's another way to look at it. I plotted it. If you look at it, you can see the inverse for wide receivers. They're a little bit okay, but nothing dramatic. They get dramatic year 7, 8, 9, 10, probably. You don't want those old running back. But I'm not sure this is too significant. I think people may be overestimating as a group running backs, rookies 2 and 3. I think they're showing out year 4 and 5 as a group, not individual, right? Saquon Barkley, I understand. So you got to understand stats and groups versus individual stats. Okay, so I'm looking at groups here. let's see, 19 minutes in. Let's see. Oh, okay, I'll go a little further. So I looked at age segments, and we looked at 21 to 23. So I kind of tried to get those together and clear that probably not as dramatic if you factor the age. See, I think you got this experience, but it's this age. But 27 to 30 is the top here, and that was 12 to 18 was also the top. Just look at the decline after 30, recent 4 years. Sad. And we see a comparison ratio. There's the big change right there. 14% drop in the old dogs. So it's riskier and riskier, even 14% more risk in the last 4 years holding these ancient wide receivers here, folks. And then the next sector, if you just want to take a look, we see that the older dogs are doing pretty good compared to everybody else. So those running backs that have, those wide receivers that have some situational value that are coming in at the 50th to 74, some of these older ones, that's where they're finding their niche right there. And that was certainly the case 30 to 35. And look, peaking it early, so we had some that were early, these rookie types that were learning the game, and then those that survived and were still in the league, and they weren't at the top of their game anymore, but they're still able to produce. So if you've got to take an ancient wide receiver, don't expect him to be in the top. They'll be here. So for best ball and whatnot, you're looking for situational optics there for that here. And I think so I think I just plotted this out a little bit. You can check that out. I'm probably being silly on that, but that's fine. Year ratio, so you can just see I plotted the ratio here, and bam. So the top wide receivers, 30 to 31, we have seen a decay. In the 74th to 50th, rookies weren't really doing it, right? But 24, 26, 30, even the older dogs are still holding value. But that's where they're holding value compared to here. But maybe not as dramatic as I said there. Okay, 23 minutes. It's time to stop the lesson. I know. Come back. We're going to continue. And see, this is what we're doing there. Population. So we're looking across at populations. Survivorship populations. Very intriguing data here. You won't see this anywhere else. Okay, guys, take care. We're having fun.